Thank you for coming early this morning. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here in one of the most prestigious think tank institution, not only in UK, in the whole world. We are very proud of our institution here, and we are very proud of the people who come to support the institution as well. Yemen is our topic. Yemen could be a cornerstone of the future of certain regional areas, such as the Middle East, the Gulf area. Without Yemen, there is no stability, at least in the Gulf, maybe in the Middle East. We have to value what Yemen is about as a culture, as a history, as an economy, as manpower, and the labor force for the area. I'm very happy today to have the local voices heard. I've been pushing for this long time, years and years. So we have the youth, and we have the civil society, and we have the ladies with us as well, who can drive, because they are great drivers. So women are the drivers of men. That's right?
Well, if you say so.
Okay, in a consultation process in Yemen, Humanitarian Forum Yemen and INGO has organized in Yemen a meeting in February this year, and the outcome of this meeting was 95% of the organization agreed that the Friends of Yemen should consult with civil society before the conference take place. 86% stated that they would like to engage with the government to support the transition. 56% of organizations stated that they were unaware of the government's development planning in their area. Almost half of the people said they were unaware that the terms of the GCC-sponsored agreement for Yemen transition. 28% of organizations said that addressing immediate needs and are the top priority to be addressed in 6-12 months. This was the recommendation with the INGO Forum and Yemen and the Humanitarian Forum in Yemen, which was in the consultation process, which was held last month. This is not the first time we organize a conference for Yemen as Humanitarian Forum. The first conference was in Cairo with support or with partnership with UN OCHA and OIC. The second, this was December 2011. The second one was in May 2012 with the Arab League. And the third one was in Yemen in August 2012. So we are here for Yemen. We are here talking about Yemen and the future in Yemen and the stability of the whole region, which is based on the stability of Yemen. We have three distinguished speakers with us, the three that I love most. First one will be speaking with us is Mohamed Murad Mutahar. He's the founder of Hemmat Shabab. What's Hemmat in Arabic?
Endeavor. In English, you mean?
In English. Hemmat Shabab Foundation for Yemen. You have got 7 minutes to speak. Thank you. You want to go to the podium?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. Thanks a lot for the organizers who made this event come to happen. Thank you, Dr. Hani, for the great introduction about Yemen. I'm here today to share with you, to try to share with you a model of Yemen's youth redefining the philanthropic approaches to development. But let me start up with, it's not working. Something is wrong. It's Leon.
We welcome His Excellency, the Foreign Office Minister of Yemen, who just arrived. Thank you. It's not eating qat, huh?
Well, let's just try by start up with a small story of one of the old women who's actually over 75 years old. This woman, we actually came to see her after we have visited her house, which is a 2 by 2 meters of one room. And we came to see this lady actually being alone in this house. She's actually food insecure, and she would only depend on the food from the neighborhood, who would sometimes come to give her food, and sometimes she would just remain without no food. She is one of a lot of Yemenis who are actually there, who are actually food insecure. This lady actually was not in a rural area. She was in the middle in one of the cities of Yemen. She's a model of many other families who are actually now facing the poverty and the humanitarian crisis when we talk about food insecurity. Our volunteers who came up to do the surveying for these family initiative, for the family who are actually facing the poverty in Yemen, came to see that the numbers that we always see about humanitarian poverty is not only figures. They are there in place, and they're actually families who don't have their annual food sufficiency to cover their food. That's the lady I was talking about. That's another 2 ladies who have been really inspiring us ever we started in 2009 to continue in this direction, to tackle up the poverty aspect and the unemployment. I will try to discuss with you 3 main points today. Redefining the philanthropic approaches to development, and that was adopted by one of the Yemeni youth CSOs, Hemmat Shabab Foundation. And I would like to share some of the voice of the youth about projects and concepts they aspire to achieve in the coming future. And we'll try to wrap up with some recommendations. But before we start, the humanitarian crisis in data, maybe Yemen is not really covered when we see it in the media, but there, the humanitarian crisis is actually there. Between 2009 and 2011, the number of the severely food insecure people nearly doubled. The civil unrest exacerbating the food insecurity, where 10 million Yemenis are food insecure, and out of which 5 million are severely food insecure. Yemen is ranked as the 11th most food insecure country globally, with 1 in 3 Yemenis suffering from acute hunger. And of course, malnutrition is another thing from the humanitarian crisis that we need many youth CSOs to be advocating it. How did we start Hemmat Shabab? We started it as we tackled one of the studies back in 2009 to see that Yemen is ranked one of the highest countries when it comes to poverty. And we started to consider the unemployment and poverty as main aspects of the foundation. Ever since its inception, we have served 17,000 families. We have volunteers network of around 1,150 volunteers, and we have served 5 main cities in the Republic of Yemen, including Aden, Hadramaut, Hudaydah, Sana'a, and Ta'az. Throughout the timeline of Hemmat Shabab, we've been seeing that the families who are actually benefiting out of these food distribution have been gradually increasing year after year. But then it just clicked into us in 2012 that we need to institutionalize the foundation to make it really a sustainable projects that can really help the needy families over there. But as one of the Yemeni CSOs, we are actually having certain things that gave us strength to really proceed in our projects. One of those were to attract youth from both genders, from diverse backgrounds that represent different cultures and regions, trying to bring them together, and to such efforts will facilitate the stability in a unified Yemen. We understand that success comes through partnerships, and not with competition, because sometimes competition could create some conflicts and uncertainties. We empower talented youth in many activities, and the new college graduate women mostly led many of our activities. We provide youth with leadership and teamwork, sense of community, and self-confidence. I would like to share as well that the ability to mobilize the youth, really making them feel that they are important to build up the community, was really one of the things that we really looked at. But before we've done a strategic plan, we were working on a seasonal projects. Out of these seasonal projects, we used to do the monthly distribution of the food to the needy people. Another important event or activity that we used to launch was the youth conference that we do it on an annual basis. We try to bring up all the Yemeni CSOs together and try to tackle all the concerns. and try to come up with a project that will unify all of these CSOs and these efforts together. But after that, we thought of having a 5-year strategic plan, focusing on only 2 main things. The 2 main segments that we are focusing actually is the poor families, and the youth, where we thought of having the continuity awareness and empowerment advocacy. Here, we're thinking to have a social development of needy families to fight poverty by certain development programs. And here, we're thinking to financially empower the youth throughout job opportunities. And of course, between these 2, you need to build partnerships with national, regional, or international organizations. You need to have a good raising of awareness through media and campaigns. Of course, public awareness is important in order to deliver your message, in order to have people and new partnerships involved with you. And we used to have once in a year, what we call it an AAA event, an annual award appreciation, where we recognize the Hemmat Shabab pioneers and heroes who helped us to work out the activities throughout the year, and which we aim that they could be, or they are actually the Yemeni ambassadors to the world, and they have been going out of Yemen to speak about their experiences. Now, who are our local national partners in Yemen? Maybe the private sector was the main strength in our work, because they have trusted us, they have given us opportunity to really show that we can do something. Before we were actually registered, we would just deliver them with the data, and they would give us the donations or the funds. And private sector was really, there is a mistake here, this should be here and that should be there. But then yes, private sector was one of our strengths. Now, some of the short-term projects that some of the youth initiatives are actually looking at is the Yemeni Food Bank. In fact, there are some efforts now are being done to do a pilot project about this. Mobile health clinic is actually one of the important issues that we need to have in remote areas, rural areas. And there are other many short-term sustainable projects. The long-term strategic projects that youth aspire to achieve are, for example, raising awareness in health and in education, precisely in supporting the standards and the school improvement plan. I would like to sum up, it's already time. And international and potential partners that many CSOs are looking over to partner with are those that you see them. Accountability is an issue, and many CSOs need to consider all these points, including the governance, the building capacity, so they'll be able to absorb the pledges that are coming. And I would like to sum up with a recommendation. One of the most important ones is to have acceleration in the absorption of the donor pledges by civil society empowerment and partnership. And I would like to end up and close up that we always need to remember that it takes a village to raise a child, as once the lady Hillary Clinton said. And it's friends like you who will be able to help make a difference in Yemen and success. It's partnership that we need at this point of time. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, and for Hemmat Shabab. We also need to thank the organizers of this meeting, which is Oxfam, the backbone of one of the pieces of the backbone of the humanitarian movement in the UK and in the whole world, and in Yemen as well. A diaspora organization, Yemen Diaspora Organization for Youth and Community Organization, YRDF, Yemen Relief and Development Forum, which started last year, and Humanitarian Forum. Our second speaker is Rafat Al-Akhali, co-founder and chair of Resonate Yemen. Thank you. 7 minutes, please.
Sure. I won't go and stand up. I'm too old to stand. So I just want to start with a number that Dr. Hani mentioned in his introduction, and it's from the latest CSO consultation. And that number is basically at 86% of civil society organizations surveyed said that they would like to engage with the government in supporting the transition. And that same 86% said that either they never get consulted, or if consultations happen in their communities, they're not aware of it. So I want to focus on inclusion of civil society actors in the development agenda in Yemen. And we have to admit that there has been a lot of progress in the past few years in terms of inclusion. I mean, we now have inclusion on the agenda. If we look, for example, at the Mutual Accountability Framework, that was signed between Yemen and its development partners. There's a main pillar there for civil society empowerment and partnerships. So it's there, and the government in its transitional program for stability and development also had a whole section for a strategic partnership forum, which is supposed to bring together civil society actors with the government and development partners in the development process. And if we also look at the major donors in Yemen, for example, the World Bank held consultations on their plan for 2013 and 14. The UNDP is supporting Youth Observatory project to engage youth in policy formations. So I think we're at a point where really no one dares to even go and speak about development without mentioning that there will be inclusion and we will have consultations with people. And I really believe that the intentions are there in terms of whether it's the Friends of Yemen or the government or civil society. Everyone has the intention to work together on this. But there seems to be an inherent assumption in all this that we have the required experience to do consultations in Yemen. And unfortunately, that's not the case. In Yemen, we never had this accumulated experience of running wide-scale consultations across the whole community or with, at a major level. I mean, the British that are in here might know that the UK has a very good example of public consultations, and they have their own code of practice for consultations, and every department has a consultation coordinator. So it's been there for long years, and the process is well mature now. But we don't have that in Yemen. And so when we do consultations, we joined in a consultation, for example, for the Mutual Accountability Framework, and it's not well facilitated, and the outputs are not there, and there's no follow-up on it. And so we are lacking a lot of process. So we need to start with the process first, and then get to the point where consultations are really meaningful. And on the other side, the civil society organizations don't have enough capacity to participate in these, because again, we haven't had the experience to participate in this. So again, we go to consultations all the time with World Bank, government, everyone, and we see that civil society actors would come not prepared, don't know what the strategy is, haven't done their homework as well, and don't know how to participate in these. And we also see a lot of these consultation efforts and inclusion efforts are very much Sana'a-centric. So when we talk to our partners in the different governorates, they always complain that all this is happening in Sana'a, but we're not part of this at all. And it's also not really grassroots. So I'm happy to be part of these consultations, but I'm not representative of the whole of Yemen. So we really need to work on expanding that circle that gets consulted and gets included in these discussions. So if we want to look at what are the priorities to try and address this so that we actually have meaningful inclusion and consultations, well, of course, we need to work on establishing the process first. As I mentioned, we need to really make sure that we have people able to design this process so it's a meaningful exercise, and that might be something that the upcoming executive bureau can work on. And we also need to build capacity, and I know we talk a lot about building capacity of civil society actors, and we're almost tired of that. But what we need to do is try and do it in non-traditional ways, so it's not about bringing someone, giving them a workshop, but really try to engage them in different ways. I mean, we've done previous projects where we used game simulations, like a democracy game where actually youth get to work on designing policies and see what it is. And it was funny when we finished that exercise with the youth, and then everyone said, I don't want to be in the place of a prime minister or a president anymore, because this is so complicated and there's all these different actors and we have to take care of all these different policies. So this is actually really complicated. And I also want to highlight one major thing, which is the use of technology, which is really not picked up in Yemen as much as in the rest of the African continent. Yemen has, especially when we talk about SMS technology, we have about over 12 million mobile subscribers, and the adult population in Yemen is about 13 million. So really we have about 100% penetration of mobile phones in the adult population, but it's not really used. It's somewhat used in some awareness raising exercises, for the elections or health, but really not in a way to engage the citizens in the process. So we're talking with some donors now to launch a project, maybe to do grassroots monitoring of donor-funded projects by youth, so they can use an SMS technology. We're also working on engaging citizens in the national dialogue process using SMS polling, so it's a much more inclusive and grassroots process, and not just 500 people that claim to represent the whole of Yemen. So we need to work on all this and try to expand our circles, both geographically and grassroots-wise as well. And I think if we try to focus on that, both from the Friends of Yemen, the government, and civil society, we would really be able to make a difference in Yemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafat, for the concise and presentation.
On time.
And on time. And we follow by the presentation with Jamila, the founder and manager of Consult-Yemen.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Consult-Yemen would like to thank first Chatham House for organizing this special event, and especially before the official meetings of the Friends of Yemen. And it's a step forward. It's true that we did not have the chance to, that the civil society did not have the chance to be part of the consultations in the ministerial meeting, but the ministers came to this meeting, which is an asset. To Friends of Yemen, Consult-Yemen says, thank you for continuing your friendship during this time of hardship for Yemen. We all know that the transition has not been, nor will be, an easy process for Yemenis, their government, and friends. Yet meetings and these consultations, consultations such as these, are marks of being on the right track. I want to go to the one. Okay, I'll start with this slide. Definitely, we all know that there for challenges that are facing Yemen at this time. I had these signs in the shapes of barrels. This could be oil barrels. These could be checkpoint barrels, whatever we want to interpret them. But I wanted to say the message in this slide is that can we all work on these four challenges at the same time? Because if we concentrate on security, humanitarian is being neglected. And if we're focusing on national dialogue, sometimes the development, the middle and urgent needs of development are not met. So my message here to the Friends of Yemen and to the Yemeni government is, can we work at the same time, at the same level, with the same effort, with the same finances, or provide finances for these four barrels, or these four challenges and pillars, because they're creating a challenge. If we're concentrating only on security, humanitarian issues definitely are affecting the security if we don't address them. So they are all intertwined with each other, so we do need to have that look. These are the new factors that have happened. If you see on the CSOs are the newcomers, the youth, and the women after the uprising in 2011. Every one of these has a special part in the national dialogue, and we have all followed up. Now they are in the national dialogue, they are available there, they have a voice there, youth and women as well. There's a lot of challenges which I would go on later. Sorry. Okay, if we go to the political challenge, we will find the national dialogue and constitutional reform. These are the two big matters now that we are going to start the national dialogue on the 18th of March. And we are going to reform the constitution. So Consult-Yemen acknowledges that this national dialogue has made a change and has given 120 seats for CSOs, for women and for youth, but express concern at the same time on the disagreement and the standards of selection within and the withdrawal of the members of the technical committee and how it's going to affect the total income or the National Dialogue Conference itself. Consult-Yemen acknowledges the 30% of women in the political parties, but at the same time, we recommend that this has to be followed up because we know that some of the lists came back with not the 30%, but we hope that by sending them back to the political parties, they will adjust them to the 30%. Consult-Yemen supports the national dialogue timeline. Okay, we have 6 months, maybe 2 more months, 8 months, in the beginning and the end. But at the same time, can we deal with all the issues of the national dialogue? This is one of the big concerns that Consult-Yemen is worried about. Maybe we can start by the state building and then go gradually on other things. It might take more time, but has to be flexible. Consult-Yemen worries that security and stability options should not prevail over change, human rights, and equal citizenship. There is this consensus that we want stability, we want security. We're tired of fighting, we're tired of... So would that be on the expense of real change? This has to be outlined. Okay. We're almost there, okay. Very quickly, the major economic challenges, of course, is that the donors are saying that Yemen does not have absorptive capacities and mismanagement, and the government said that they are delaying the pledges. To deal with that, the treatment was the mutual accountability framework, as you know, and it deals with economic transitional priorities. It created an executive bureau, as all of us know, and those are the aims of the bureau is to accelerate the funds, coordinate and policy development. There's some concerns. We worry that it might be a shadow government, and the other thing is that the CSO represented in the board, the monitoring board, is selected by the ministries, by the ministers. So that might be some of the concerns we are talking about. Again, my God. Okay, humanitarian, the youth had set a very good example that these youth can engage in humanitarian effort. They are self-initiated. They did partnership with the private sector. They have ownership. They have sustainability. They are setting an example that they can be included in partnership with the government and with the private sector. And I think this is a plus for this conference and for the Yemeni government and for change. Oxfam and other relief agencies have been flagging the emergency flag for some time. We are in dire need for funding for humanitarian. It is urgent, and we don't want to wait until it's too late. This is part of the UN appeal request, and it's 2% or 20%. Yeah, 2% only, David, is. Okay. The last thing, very quickly, of course, the mutual accountability framework mentioned, the CSO empowerment partnership, which is very important, I think. Consult-Yemen appreciates that and seconds that, but at the same time,